All right, everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Sports Forensics and Picks with me, Matt Corbett, and John Patterson, the guru. Yes, and today we are discussing NFL Week 3. Ooh, Week 1 and 2. Week 1 and 2 for me were not my favorite NFL weeks, but hey, you got to keep going.
But you know what? Collectively, we made money as a page. That's all that matters.
Oh,
And
yeah.
what
Well,
really matters is that we're keeping people from making some big mistakes. We watched in week one against Warning. Hey, look, watch those survivor pools. Cincinnati's probably not going to win. They didn't. And then last week we watched pretty much the rest of the survivor pool entries go down with the Raiders taking out Baltimore. That didn't shock us at all. We loved the points in that. Didn't know if that was going to be an upset, but the points were really strong. And I think this is going to be a good week for some bounce backs for some other teams. And hopefully we'll get some more, let's say, raw data for future weeks. So, lots of really interesting games and matchups. Hopefully we'll have some takes that resonate with all of you, and just kind of you'll know which ones to bite on and what some maybe to even pull back on a little bit because it might be a little too good to be true.
yeah, absolutely. Well, let's we just mentioned the Raiders, so let's talk about them first. The Raiders, they beat the Ravens a week ago in Baltimore, and hey, like you said, crushed a lot of survivor pools, but they play Carolina. They're at home this week against Carolina. Carolina's coming to town. I think 47-10 loss against the Saints, 23-3 or something against the Chargers a week ago. Carolina, they're starting Andy Dalton this week, so you
The
do
Red Rocket.
the Rocket, former TCU college football quarterback, I believe.
Yeah, you know what? Too bad his name wasn't like Toad or Chode. He could be
Oh,
Chode the Red Rocket.
that would be sweet.
I'm aging myself with the music there, but
Yeah.
I like them. I at least like the points. The Raiders kind of got, I think, a gift last week, and so you know what? Sometimes it's turnaround week from one week to the next. You see that a lot, although you see it a whole lot more when the first of those is a high handle, meaning a Monday night or a Thursday night game, where it's going to influence the most public opinion. But even still, I think that Carolina they go out there and get humiliated again, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden they're just losing each week to lock in a number one pick that doesn't want to play there.
So you're thinking because of that, they show up to some sort of extent this week and they cover those points?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that the Red Rocket is going to be the second coming of Christ. But what I am saying, because the guy's a statue. I mean that's why he hasn't had a job. I mean Flacco is a lot more mobile than him. I think the only quarterback in the NFL that might not be as mobile, even if he plays this week, as the Rocket is the Chargers quarterback. So Herbert, and we'll get to that later, but give me those points just because nobody else is going to take them, so I will.
Sounds good. All right, LA Chargers going to the Chargers then at the Pittsburgh Steelers. They got to make that cross country trip out east. I love the Pittsburgh Steelers in this game, -2.5. I love the defense. I love that. I just falling in love with the team, man. Really am.
Falling in love.
Have you ever fallen in love with the team?
Yes, many times. And usually when it's the San Diego team, they break my heart. That's why I'm a free agent fan.
Hmm.
Um, although the Dodgers were my first love in any sport as a team, Davy Lopes, Dusty Baker, Steve Garvey, Ron Say, those teams were great. But although, can we give some love for Shohei? What 6 for 6, 3 bombs, 10 ribs, 2 swipes. He did. No one in baseball has done over their career everything that he did stat wise in that game yesterday. So he is officially locked in as the National League MVP. So, I'm giving some love for our man Shohei.
Listen,
So,
Coco
um,
is scratching it at your thing. She's saying stop talking about baseball in a football video.
oh shit. Okay, sorry, Coco. I was a little bit cocoa myself, man.
Oh,
I
oh.
want about some love for Ladoyer. Hey, Ladoyer. I love Ladoyer. So, but anyway, so we're talking about the Chargers now. That game is actually up to 3 now on Bodog.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I can see
Yeah,
that.
and this is all on the heels of the news that the Herbert hasn't practiced this week, not Wednesday nor today, Friday, and he's still got a lot of pain in his leg. He's questionable, but they were saying questionable for McCaffrey, before week 1, when it was later revealed that his backup knew Friday night that he was going to start. So being the fact that this game started at 1 and is now at 3 on Bodog. Now, granted, these are both 2-0 teams, and Pittsburgh is at home. So even at 3 points, they're not even home field advantage favorites. So let's keep that in mind. However, saying that, the Chargers +3 at +135. So I'm not saying that there's going to be a middle here, but this is the kind of game where realistically we've seen Watt and these guys are destructive. And Herbert, as we talked about when we were talking about the Red Rocket, the dude is just going to be a statue out there. I don't see them doing too much. And the running game that the Chargers have had, they've officially got the #1 rusher in the NFL in Dobbins. Wow. But I just think that they're going to box up on him, and they're just going to blitz. And so it doesn't look good for the Chargers. I'm with you on this one, Mr. Matt.
Yeah.
Give me some Pittsburgh.
That's my pick of the week, I think. So that's my one that I'm like the most confident in. Like, I'm very bullish on this pick.
There we go. That's the term, baby. That's the term.
All right. So Chicago, the Bears, up Bears, at Indy. Indy right now -1, essentially a pick 'em. Anthony Richardson, highlight reel type guy, right, for a couple of plays. However, can't throw the football, so that's a huge issue to me. And I do like the Colts, but I don't know. The Bears, feel like the Bears going to win this game.
Really? With the number 30 quarterback in the NFL.
They might not need it.
I'm telling you, Caleb Williams has been atrocious, and they cannot stop any attack it whatsoever. They've looked horrible. They really have. And I've seen nothing out of DeAndre as their running back. Keenan Allen still hasn't practiced at all this week. He's probably going to be a no-go. I don't see why this game is. It's at Indy, and it's a 1-point line. With Jonathan Taylor and Richardson, that is just a two-headed monster. I don't care if Chicago is good at stopping the run and has a great secondary. I just don't see this thing close. Is this thing so forensic that it's sick? I don't think so, because I just think that the odds makers got this thing wrong. I'm seeing this. It's going to go one of two ways. Either there is something to it that even I don't see, and this ends up being like a 26-23 game, because if Chicago wins, it's going over, because this game should not have a 44-point over-under line. I just don't see it, especially how bad these quarterbacks are throwing the ball, and to your credit. But what I do see is, if this was a legitimate line, I see 31-10 Indianapolis, because I just don't see the Bears. They have not been able to move the ball. And I think with that two-headed monster, some play action, they've got some people who can catch the ball. And so I think they're going to try to stretch the field a little more, give the athletes they have on the offensive side as the receivers some chance to just go where the ball is and beat the other guy to it, because they're going to have to load up the box against these two guys. And so you're going to have a lot of single coverage. And I think that's going to hurt Chicago this week. So give me those Colts.
The Colts. Houston and Minnesota. Houston at Minnesota.
My game of the week.
Yeah. You want to talk about this one? This one's a toss-up for me. I'm leaning Minnesota, though. I'm leaning Minnesota. Plus the points at home right now, +1.5.
May I ask why?
Well, I think that the defense is pretty good, and I think that there's no reason why we should not take them serious after two big wins. I mean, they beat the Giants, right? They beat a
Oh,
big.
that was huge.
Oh yeah, big win.
Who saw that coming?
I mean, they did. They beat the Niners a week ago, but it's like they were banged up, yeah. But ultimately, Sam Darnold looks pretty good, and I think if they can, I think they're solid at pretty much around the whole thing. I mean, they're pretty much just solid across the board, and should make it a good game.
Okay, I think that this is going to be bloody. I think there'll be a lot of points scored. I like the fact that there's a lot of points on the total, but I think Houston is just going to blow them out of the water. I don't think that as good as Minnesota's defense has been, the offense and the scheme of this Houston Texans team just transcends anything that they're able to do in Minnesota. And I got my pick to click, Tank Dell. Mr. Nothing so far this year. I tell you what, without Diggs, that guy was an absolute monster. He was basically the 1B on that team. And now it's basically all Nico. He's like, what, the number 2 guy in the league receiving?
That's crazy.
Make no mistake about it. This is all about CJ Stroud. And he's going to have a fun time playing. I think he's going to throw for 400 yards.
A 400 burger?
A 400 burger with extra cheese.
The triple cheese, baby. All right. Well, we'll see what happens on Sunday.
Big Kahuna burger.
The big Kahuna. The Giants at Cleveland. Cleveland big favorite, 6.5 points. Who gives a crap? But some people do, including me, because I need this pick, John. Let me tell you.
You can have it. I mean, you can have. Are you going with rub and tug? Or are you?
Well, I could see this game being like a 16-13 type of game, but I think what we're most likely to see is a Cleveland Brown blowout at home. I think they could score in the 20s, and I don't really see the Giants scoring more than 14. So for that reason, I really like Cleveland in this game.
One thing that I really like for, and it has nothing to do with Deshaun, I actually think that this week we're probably going to see a little bit of a changing in the guard in the backfield of the Browns. I'm looking for D'Onta Foreman to get in there because he showed me a lot the last 2 seasons. He never really had an opportunity to be quote unquote the guy, but that dude's a bruiser, man, and he hurts people between the tackles. So I think if you DFS nerds, I would jump on Foreman because they're making it sound like it's still Ford's backfield, but Ford sucks. He came in as just a replacement, for Chubb, when he went down, and so it's almost like almost like Chuba was in Carolina, but
he's still there.
He's still not great. He sucks. Just because you're the guy doesn't mean you're the guy.
Right. Yeah. All right. Cool.
But I'm not touching that game. I'm not touching it. I don't like it.
Yeah. All right. Well, next game is one that I'm eager to hear your opinion on. Philadelphia Eagles at New Orleans Saints. Saints have been dominating. Philly looked good week 1 in Brazil, and now last week they played an Atlanta team that beat them. So, where do you go from here? Line is currently 2.5. The Saints are a 2.5-point favorite.
And where's the game? It's at the Superdome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless they renamed it.
I think it's Mercedes now.
They're always changing names.
But
anyway, yes, I definitely give full respect to what New Orleans has done this year, and yeah, I think they're legit. They're probably going to even win their division. But I don't like them this week. In fact, just today at work, it was really funny. The guys were all talking about, oh yeah, New Orleans. Oh, they're going to kill them. Oh, they're favored by 2.5. Oh, they'll cover that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
everything I need to know right there. Give me Philadelphia. Yeah. I think that Hurts really has something to prove this year. Not because he needs to, because it's like his job depends on it or anything, but for himself, he wants to show that he's the man. He's such a low key dude, but the guy's a freaking animal. He's a beast, and I love the guy. And especially this week, I don't know if we're going to see the Swiss Army knife, play for New Orleans, which means they don't have to game plan against gadget plays. They're going to have to go out there and just beat them with raw speed and talent. They got the speed, but I think they're going to be able to focus. They're going to focus a lot of resources on stopping Kamara. And when that happens, I just don't think that they've got what it takes in a passing game to be able to compete. And when they do have to pass the ball, they're going to be pressured a whole lot more, and they're going to be covered a whole lot more than they've seen so far. So I think that this could start off at like one of those 17-3 things, and then it just kind of ends up within 10 points. But I like Philadelphia.
All right, Philly.
Plus, think about this. As good as all world as New Orleans has been, they're not even favored by home field advantage. So that should give you pause to think, if nothing else.
Well, that's what was weird last week too, because week 1, I think it was a 3.5 point New Orleans favorite against Carolina.
They're 4.
It was 4, okay. And then a week ago, it was 6.5 for the Cowboys. The Cowboys were the favorite.
Yeah, they would have been, by that logic, they would have been 2.5 point favorites at home against Dallas. Excuse me. Yeah, 1.5. They would have been 1.5 point. We'd call it a pick 'em, but they went out there and destroyed them so bad that they should be upgraded in Vegas. Instead, they were downgraded. So,
how does that happen? It's weird. It makes me feel like.
Well, it makes you feel like you see the winning pick, and so you go ahead and they'll beat them by a field goal. Yeah, well, that's the money that loses. That's how I.
Then you start thinking about the Vegas knows what you know, so then
we don't know what they know, but I do
know
what I do know that Joe Better understands enough to know what a good pick is, quote unquote, in theory.
Yeah,
and that's what's really dangerous. And
on paper, it's too.
I always keep that if I don't like a game, it's because it just seems like it's too fair of a line, and then I'm just flipping a coin, and then my ratios go down if I pick those games.
Yeah, I'll take the Saints. I'm just kidding. I'm on Philly too.
Okay, all right, good.
Joe Better.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do if you didn't back me on that one.
I'm like, nah, you're crazy. All right, next game.
What else you got?
Denver at Tampa. Tampa -6.5 at home. Denver hasn't really shown much.
Denver sucks. I mean, even the defense hasn't been great. But gosh, when is Vegas going to give Tampa Bay some actual respect?
Yeah, this line should be like
9-point dogs last week and won outright against Detroit. So 6.5. It might not be enough. I'm not touching this because if this line was truly square, I think that Tampa Bay would have no problem covering that, because we've seen Bo Nix. Maybe they gave him that title as starting quarterback a little bit too early. Can you say quarterback competition 2.0, the reboot in Denver? Maybe after this week we will.
So needless to say, we can Bo Nix Denver out of our parlay this week.
Yes, sir.
All right. Green Bay on the road against Tennessee.
Hated
it. Tennessee currently 2.5, -2.5. 3 in some places here. This just seems crazy to me, this game.
I love the Titans.
You do?
Yep. Levis is going to go off, not because he's super great. I mean, he is good. He's better than he's shown. But again, they're going against Green Bay, who last week, you, my friend, went on and did a quick shot video because of the ESPN trying to make Willis look like this. Oh my God, they're gonna. Oh, what a sore excuse for a quarterback he is. They're gonna get killed, and it was a 2-point line. And I even put them at the top of my priority pool, and actually, out of 29 players, outscored everyone. That was great. I've never done that because I'm not good at ranking, my confidence. I just know when a line sucks, and I'm not really good at that kind of thing. Yeah. It's kind of like putting an over under on a parlay on a winning bet with me. But but I definitely think that the Titans have a real good defense. We saw that, and we also saw that Green Bay won when no one in the world expected them to, except Matt and myself. We were all over Green Bay winning when they shouldn't have last week. And so again, you know, when you bring in a Willis, or, you know, not to play a race card, but when you put in a black quarterback that ESPN calls a disgrace, you know, you kind of got the two wrongs make a right kind of thing, because those
Yeah.
guys are such hypocrites and racists. They really are.
Yep.
And we sniffed that out, and we were right. But this week, you're going to see a different showing from Green Bay. They're only going to be able to give the ball to Jacobs so much, and he's not going to be able to run on the Titans. So I expect a low scoring game, but I also expect the Titans to win it. Yeah.
And there actually is a chance that Jordan Love plays this week as well, which is mind-boggling. But I feel like he's more likely to play than not play at this point, from what I've been hearing.
Cooper Kupp was doubtful until today, as if he ever had a chance of playing. I'm already tired of this new system that the NFL has to whatever make it fair with these injury lists. They're just it's a bigger scam than it used to be. You know, they just want to make it hard for the other team to, you know, to game plan against them. You know, bottom line, if the guy's crippled, he's probably not going to play. If he's not practicing, he's not seeing first team snaps, he's probably not going to play.
Unless you sign that big honking contract in the off season.
Yeah, the 50 million, they're going to put a cripple in who can't move around, 50 million a year, and maybe have some real damage go on. Good Lord.
All right, next game. Miami. Actually, no, let's go to Carolina. Carolina and Vegas. We kind of talked about this one already, right? We talked about this one.
We let off with this. Yeah, Carolina and the points. I love it.
Miami and Seattle. Miami plus 6.5. Seattle minus 6.5. Now it's 4.5. Seattle minus 4.5.
I like Skyler.
Yeah, Miami gets it done somehow. Maybe not money line, but I think I like the points though.
Apunto. Bravo. I really like the points, but it started at 6.5. It's down to 4.5. You know, we run the risk of people getting their toes cut off if they jump on this. You know, most likely they'll probably end up in like a field goal type of thing, maybe 3 points. But if it dips under 4, you're a fool. I wouldn't even touch it at 4. 4.5, I think, probably still safe. If it keeps going, you run a risk, because if a team loses by 4, 3, 2, or 1, it doesn't make a difference. You either win or lose in the NFL. But I don't see Miami winning the game. But why not? Why not? I like the points. I like Skyler. He's been a backup there for more than a couple years, and he's got the respect of the team. And, you know, all he needs to do is throw the ball really far, let Tyreek and Waddle and these guys, even Berrios. I mean, don't forget about Sean or Shane, whatever. I got him on my teams. I still can't pronounce his name. You know, Monster, you know, they got a lot of people that can hurt you on that team. So Seattle hasn't lit it up with a whole ton of points either. So Miami could go out there and blow them out. You don't know, but it is in Seattle. They've got the 12th man there. It's going to be really, really hard for Skyler to hear, but they got the nerd as the head coach. So I think they're going to be prepared for this game. And I think laying the points in this is not smart at all.
Cool. We're taking the points. Miami plus 4.5. Detroit at Arizona. Interesting one. Arizona coming off a big win against division rival, the Rams. Detroit, and we discussed that Tampa Bay game from last week briefly here. You know, they were almost an 8-point favorite. The Lions were. The Lions are minus 3 currently. Arizona at home plus 3. Lions have not looked the best, but is this the time to jump on the bandwagon for the Lions?
Well, there is no bandwagon for the Lions. There never really has been, because it's a Detroit team. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, even with Barry Sanders, they never had a sniff. But with Boss Ross, they almost came close. I digress. I love Detroit. You you basically got a 1 foot difference between a stud pass rusher and a quarterback who's faster than the quarterback. So I just think that Kyler Murray is going to be in over his head. Let's just put it that way. I think what we saw out of Harrison last week was great. It was fun to see, but even at that, he only had 4 catches, no matter how many million fantasy points he had. But Detroit has too many weapons, and Arizona is not the team that can really stop anyone. They just would hope to outscore them, and that's not going to happen. So I would even lay 10 if I had to with Detroit.
Cool. Well, I'm on Detroit as well. I like that a lot. Baltimore at Dallas. Baltimore is a favorite by 1 point on the road. Call it a pick 'em. All right. Dallas
Okay.
Cowboys looked pretty good a week ago against New Orleans. They got destroyed. Um, and Baltimore losing that game to the Raiders, in Baltimore. So both these teams that were supposed to be potential juggernauts this year have sort of stumbled out of the gate here a little bit, and now they play each other. And they're going to have to figure out a way. I mean, Baltimore's 0-2, right? And Dallas is 1-1.
You just said a mouthful right there.
What about what?
Baltimore's 0-2.
Yeah.
I don't see them being a pick 'em on the road at Dallas, meaning if this game were in Baltimore, are you telling me that they would be 8-point favorites?
No way.
No, that's why I love them. I mean, they'll be 1-2 at the end of the week, and I think that they're really going to exploit Dallas, not in the same way that New Orleans did, but they will win. But now saying that, Baltimore's really kind of got a sketchy O-line. I don't want to see Lamar Jackson trying to do too much because he might end up crippled and done for the year too.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it stands right now, with him healthy-ish, I think they're going to be just fine. I like the fact that he's got 2 quality tight ends that he can lean to, in addition to a running back for check down type plays, for broken up plays. But I think they're going to try to stretch the field, and like New Orleans did, and buy some time for the scramble game. He'll pick up his first downs and move the chains and just escorting himself out of bounds so he's not taking hits. They don't want him dropping his shoulder and trying to run through people. He's going to end up crippled. But
yeah, give it to Henry.
Having said that, I think it should be fairly easy for Baltimore. They need a win.
They do need a win. It's big. It's time. If they go down 0-3, that's gonna be a tough division to.
Yeah, and the line out there only supports them showing up. So
yeah,
that's probably my second or third strongest pick 'em play.
Really, I like
Baltimore.
that. All right.
Yeah.
John's feeling good.
Again, apply the home field advantage. This is one of those games where you just kind of say, how much sense does this make? Would they be favored by more than a touchdown at home against Dallas? No, they wouldn't. It'd probably be maybe 5 at most.
Yeah. All right. San Francisco is a 6.5-point favorite on the road against the LA Rams. The Rams really did not show up last week against the Cardinals in Arizona, and frankly, the 49ers really didn't show up against the Vikings either. So this is a tough one. Both teams are riddled with injuries. What do you think forensically about this line, John? 6.5 on the road for the Niners?
Well, I mean, even last year when San Francisco was fully healthy and Kupp was, missing time because he was on the IR to start the season, they went into LA and LA beat them. I don't think it was necessarily because they were a greater team. Remember, these two organizations, I'm not just going to call them teams, these 2 organizations are in the same division. They play each other twice a year, every year. 6.5, I think a lot of people, knowing that both Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp being out, really leaves no weapons to throw to for Stafford. And that guy's slow. He's getting slower every year. And so nobody expects anything from the Rams. 6.5, they lose by a touchdown and they don't cover. This is one of those games where I would rather just bet the Rams on the money line than take them plus the points, because I think if it's played that close, they'll probably win outright. Not because they're a better team, but notwithstanding the injuries that San Francisco has in their own right. Debo's not going to play. They're saying Kittle's out now. So you know what? Maybe the points are the play. I'll take the points. Forget the money line, because no one can look at you with a straight face and say, "Oh, they're a better team. They'll win at home." No, they would need help to win at home. But I expect a little bit of help even for the points to cover. But if San Francisco were favored by, like, say, 8.5, and I even thought I saw it open at 10 Sunday night. I thought I recalled seeing that. So if it's at 6.5, maybe they just took that thing off the board because of an injury or something. I don't know, but 6.5 is a good time to take the points. In fact, scratch anything I said about them winning outright. It happened last year. Doesn't mean it's going to happen this year. But we do know that the money's going to be on San Francisco. The people who bet San Francisco are all laying the points. The people who bet the Rams are either going to bet the money line or they're going to bet the points. So any bet on the Rams, half of that's going on the money line, that could lose. And any bet on San Francisco is laying points, and that could lose. So Vegas is looking to pay 1 in every 4 units out if the points cover but don't win. So that's where I want to be.
Well, jot me down, pencil me in for Rams plus the 6.5.
Let's do it. I'm in. I just sitting here thinking about it with you. So, you know how you kind of Jacob's ladder with the idea that all of a sudden he's like, shit, you know what? That makes no sense to take him on the money line. That's a fool's play. And if it's anything over plus 230 at 6.5, then it's definitely fool's gold. I don't like teams winning on the money line at plus 6.5. I see that lower that, or I see it much higher than that. But 6.5, isn't good for the favorite to cover, and it's not good for the underdog to win on the money line. It's just not a good number.
Pesky 6. All right, KC at Atlanta. Kansas City Chiefs. Ooh. You were dead right about them a week ago. You had the Bengals. You had them, John. You told me. You said, "Hey, I was very bull on KC last week."
But I did say it would be a 3-point game, because they're always 3-point games, and it was a 1-point game. So mea culpa, mea culpa.
Mm-hmm.
KC, we haven't seen Kelsey show up. What's the line on that game? 3.5. Right?
Yeah, 3 now. Now it's down to 3.
Okay. No, and it's at
Atlanta. KC
at Atlanta.
Yeah.
Now remember, Atlanta just had the improbable upset.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it was very improbable to me, because they were plus 225 at 5.5 points. I've never in my life seen a team win on the money line at plus 5.5, plus 225. That's a number that you see with 6.5 points. So I was boggled and amazed by that. But then again, hey, it's Monday night production. Shit happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's apply home field advantage. A team just won on Monday Night Football. The highest ranked game of the week for the NFL, and Vikings went into Philadelphia and beat them. And so again, I also like Philadelphia this week, right? So you'll kind of see that sometimes, where the Monday night game, you'll see a lot of role reversals in the following weeks, because you usually have conditioned bettors, and your average conditioned bettor saying, "Oh wow, Atlanta, they look great. Kirk Cousins is the real deal. They finally got someone they could throw to. They got Bijan, and all this stuff. And KC hasn't looked great. They barely beat a team that lost to the freaking Patriots, who just got annihilated by the Jets. Rah, rah, rah. I like KC to cover, and I think it's going to be one of those games where they just kind of flex a little muscle.
Yeah.
I expect KC to go out there. Look for Kelsey to show up. He hasn't done anything so far. Excuse me, this season. And so I look for him to light it up. He'll probably get his, I can't say probably because they might not throw to him at all because they're trying to develop younger players as well. But this could be one of those games where he just ends up with his 11 to 12 targets, gets his 130 yards and 10 catches, 2 touchdowns, and they're showing the girl, screaming, saying, "Oh my God!" every time he catches it and gets a first down. But yeah, it's going to be a game where Mahomes and he's clicking on all cylinders, and because they need games, they need the preliminary matchups. When you're the world champion in WWE, you can't go 20 minutes with a guy and nearly almost lose all the time. You need to fight a preliminary bum every now and then. And I'm not saying Atlanta's that, but they might look like it this week.
Great take, John. Thank you. Jacksonville, Monday Night Football, Buffalo Bills. I'll probably be in attendance. There's 2 Monday Night Football games this week. This is one of them. Starts at 7:30 Eastern, kicks off about 45 minutes before the other game. The Bills currently a 5 to 5.5 point favorite, depending on what site you are looking at. I'm assuming there's going to be the majority of the money on the Bills, just by the way that the season has gone thus far, which makes me think forensically it might be a good take to take the Jaguars with those points.
Whether it's forensic or not, I really love the coach that they have in Jacksonville. Jacksonville hasn't shown anything yet, and let's not forget we still don't have an established pecking order for a passing game for Josh Allen, and I think that the Jaguars defense will do a much better job containing Allen and the running game, Cook, than any of the other teams have so far this year. So we're gonna those points are gold. In fact, I'm leaning more to an upset. So I like the money line with the Jags, backed up with 2 to 3 times as much on the points. And usually when you have 2 games on a Monday, the 4 o'clock game, or the early game, I should say, tends to just be a game. It doesn't, it's not a real high rated type thing. It doesn't have the fanfare. A lot of people don't even get it on TV. So I think it's just going to be a game. But I like Jacksonville, and they're a whole lot better than what they've shown thus far. So give me the Jags any way you can take them.
Cool. Well, we agree on that, and I'm going to be there for the Bills, hoping for a blowout either way.
May I say one thing?
Yeah.
Matt is a big Buffalo guy. I love Buffalo too, but Matt is he's in Buffalo. He's a Buffalo fan, and so when you're not bullish on your own team, and quite the opposite, when you're bearish on your own team, that's something to look into, because Buffalo's given you no reason to think that they can't go out there and just destroy them. But the fact that he's kind of taking a not that kind of approach, you need to really listen to that.
And that's what I tried to do as well in the pick league that I'm in, because you can see, the majority of these people are New York City people, and I saw how everyone was picking against the Jets actually last night. So it doesn't always work, but it usually does, and I usually see proof of that, John.
Good, excellent, good take.
Monday Night Football again, Game 2, Washington Commanders, Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals are currently 7.5 point favorite at home. Monday Night Football.
What's the total? Is it over 48?
Total is 47.
Close enough. Give me the Bengals.
Yeah.
To cover that. And again, they remember they lost the first week to the Patriots.
Oh,
and then week two, they look good enough against KC, but they still lost. They're still 0-2. And the fact that they're 7.5 point favorites, okay, now it's more than a touchdown they need to win by. If it were 6.5,